This video is covering solving equations with absolute value. Now, before we do that, we have to make sure that we understand what absolute value is. So if we take the absolute value of 3, okay, absolute value is telling us how many steps away from 0 this is. So if this is 0, we're taking 1, 2, 3 steps to get there. So the absolute value of 3 equals 3. Now, on the same hand, the absolute value of negative 3, okay, so 1, 2, 3, so that's negative 3, is also 1, 2, 3 steps away from 0. So it doesn't matter whether you have gone to the positive side or to the negative side. Either way, there are 3 steps. And so the absolute value is 3. Absolute value is always positive. Okay. So if we look at the absolute value of 3 minus 2x equals 7, okay, what we need to remember is, let's think about this. The absolute value of something equals 7. That means it is 7 steps from 0. So we could have the negative 7 or the positive 7 because it's telling us that we are 7 steps away from 0. So using this idea, we're going to take 3 minus 2x, okay, equals one side, or 3 minus 2x equals the other side. Okay, so we're going to be solving both of these equations. So when you do absolute value, it actually gives you 2 equations. Okay, then we're going to solve these just like we've been doing. All right, so I am trying to get my x term. So I'm going to get rid of the 3 first. Okay. By doing the opposite, when I do that, I have a negative 2x equals negative 10. I'm still solving for my x, so I'm going to get rid of the negative 2. I'm going to do the opposite or the inverse, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. That leaves me with x equals 10 divided by 2 is 5. Negative divided by negative is positive. Okay? You do need to check it. So if I come back up here, the absolute value of 3 minus 2 times 5 equals 7. Okay, let's see. So 3 minus 10, okay, the absolute value of that is negative 7, but when I take the absolute value of that, it is positive 7. So that is true. Okay, so that's one answer. Now we're going to come and do the other side. Again, solving for our x term, getting rid of the 3, so I'm going to add the opposite. Okay, so negative 2x equals, but this time it's 7 minus 3, which is 4. I'm still solving for my x, so I'm going to divide both sides by that negative 2, and I get x equals negative 2. Okay, but let's try it. Let's make sure this is true. So we're going to take the absolute value of 3 minus 2 times this x value that we found, and that should equal 7. Okay, so we have to go back to the original equation. Please be careful of that. You'll always go back to your original when you plug them in to check. All right, so 2 times 2 is 4. Negative times negative is positive. So 3 plus 4 is 7, and the absolute value of 7 is 7. Okay, so that is true also. So both of these are answers to this equation. Okay. Let's see here. Let's look at another one. All right, what if we have the absolute value of p plus 6 equals -5? Okay, well, this means the absolute value of something is -5 steps from 0. Well, let's think about it. Here's our 0. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, that leaves me at +5. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that takes me to -5, but it's still 5 steps. So can I actually go -5 steps from 0? And the answer is no, that is not possible. Okay, so there is no solution. Okay, because all absolute values must be positive. Okay, so absolute value must always be positive. Okay, so that's a tricky one that sometimes can happen. All right, let's see here. Let's look at, there's a few other things that happen with these guys. If you have the absolute value of y minus 5 minus 3 equals 7, okay? Before you can actually solve this, you're going to need to get everything, your absolute value on one side and everything else on the other side. So we're going to bring that -3 to the other side, okay? So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. That leaves me with the absolute value of y minus 5 equals 10. Now I can go ahead and set this up. So my y minus 5 could be positive 10, or my y minus 5 could be negative 10. Okay. I'm going to go through and solve. Okay, we get y equals 15. And over here, we get y equals -5. Again, go back to the original and check it. So the absolute value of 15 minus 5, oops, sorry, minus 3 should be 7, okay? And over here, it'll be the absolute value of -5 minus 5 minus 3 equals 7. So let's see. 15 minus 5 is 10. Okay, absolute value of 10 is 10. And 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay, so that is true. Over here, -5 minus 5 is -10. Okay. The absolute value of -10 is 10, and 10 minus 3 is 7. So it is also true. So both of these are solutions to this problem. Okay. Now, sometimes, one last one. We have absolute values, but on both sides of the equation. Okay, so let me see if I can find, okay, we're just gonna have to hope this works out. So let's go for m plus 6 equals the absolute value of 2m minus 1. And I have not tried this one, so hopefully it works. Okay, same as before, the m plus 6 is going to equal the 2m minus 1. But it is also going to equal m plus 6 equals the negative of this. So the negative, now be careful, put parentheses, of 2m minus 1, because the whole thing is negative. Okay, I'm going to start on this one. So the first thing we're going to have to do is distribute that negative to both pieces, or they're going to just switch their signs. So negative 2m plus 1. Okay, so be careful of that. That's going to equal m plus 6. I want to get my m alone. I don't like the negative one, so I'm going to head this direction, and I'm going to add 2m to both sides. Okay, when I do that, I get 3m plus 6 equals 1. Okay, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I get 3m equals 5. Okay, unfortunately, it's not going to work out nice, but that's all right. We're going to divide by 3, and m equals 5/3. Okay, which is really 1 2/3. Okay. And over here, same thing. I'm going to go this way this time, all right, because I like positive m's, so I'm going to positive variable, so I'm going to go the opposite direction. So 6 equals m minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and m equals 7. Much nicer, huh? Go back to the main one and check it. So the absolute value of 7 plus 6 equals the absolute value of 2 times 7 minus 1. Okay, so 7 plus 6 is 13. The absolute value is still 13. This one, 2 times 7 is 14. 14 minus 1 is 13. And again, that one works out. Okay. And yes, we do have to check this, even though it is a fraction. So I'm going to erase this so I have enough room. Okay. So the absolute value of, I'm going to stick with my fraction, I guess. The 5/3 plus 6 equals the absolute value of 2 times the 5/3 minus 1. Okay. First thing, let me change this into a fraction with a denominator of 3. So that means this did have a denominator of 1 if we wanted to look at it that way. So that means 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 5 is 23 over 3. And that is still 23 over 3. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that for a moment just to see what happens on the other side. Okay, over here, I can put a 1 in the denominator. 2 times 5 is 10 over 3. Minus, well, instead of 1, I'm going to rename that as 3 over 3 to make it a little bit easier. Okay, 10 minus 3 is 7 over 3. Okay, the absolute value. Well, do those two equal? Okay, and sometimes that happens. They don't equal, okay? So this is not true. This is false. So our m equal to 5/3 is actually not a solution. Okay. Sometimes that happens, so no solution. But you have to let me know that this one did not work. Okay, you can't just leave it. Alrighty.